Alright, so guys, welcome back to another video. Back at it again at Off the Beaten Trail. We'll just stop to talk to my buddy Hector, because I haven't talked to him in a little while, and so he just sent me a snap on Snapchat of the sound system in his Jeep, which is all pretty much stock. You know, for it being stock, it doesn't sound bad. I mean, it's not the best, but sorry, I'm just dropping down low here. You know, well, for stock, it does what it needs. You know, I'm not complaining. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying, I just told him if you would get something sub-wise like Pioneers or like Pioneers or Scar, which I know Scars make good subs. Holy shit. I'm just looking down here. Some big fucking pieces down here. All this shit's huge. You got a big 4x4 right there. You got a big ass log there. You know, some decent logs yet. And whatever. Sorry, I gotta make sure I'm not drooling all over my fucking sunglasses. You know, so I told him to do, you know, sub-wise do like Pioneer or Scar, which if you have Pioneers tuned right, which my dad does in my mom's truck, you know, and he has them tuned to where he wants them, they sound fucking good. You know, if he asks if I know anybody that knows how to do a decent stereo, I'm like, yeah, I can talk to my dad and see if he's willing to do it for a price. And I was like, okay, what do you need me to tell him? You know, get everything that you need or that he needs to put it in. You know, wiring, amps, speakers, boxes, whatever. You know, do what you, or get what you need, or he needs to do it, and then plus on top of, you know, his price, you know, just order, you know, just order, you know, $1,000 worth of stuff or whatever it may be. And then, because he's going to probably tell you, well, are you going to plan on running the stock stereo or doing the aftermarket radio, you know, stock radio or aftermarket radio? He's going to be like, well, what do you mean by aftermarket radio or stock radio? Well, and what I mean by that is if you do the stock stereo, you have to add all this other fucking wiring shit to the system that you want to make sound so fucking good. You know, you want to, if you stay with the stock stereo, now you have to add all this other wiring bullshit to make your subs and amp work with the stock fucking radio and all your aftermarket shit. Aftermarket makes it a little more easy to wire up because then you don't need, you know, you only use half the shit that you need, or yeah, half of what it would take to wire in everything to a stock radio. Because my dad put, let's see, in let's see. In Silver Trailblazer, my dad did an aftermarket radio. Or no, let's start with, yeah, the Silver Trailblazer. Did an aftermarket radio, subs, amp, all that. Just, then you just got to run, I think, 4 wires to the front. Obviously, so it's only going to be like 3 wires that you got to run to the front. Obviously, your power wire you got to run to the battery. Your remote signal wire has to go to the back of the radio. And then your RCAs have to go to the back of the radio. And then everything else you just run off the amp. Subs you wire right to the amp. And everything gets connected to the amp. But, it's pretty much, I think, that simple with an aftermarket head unit, which is your radio. Which it's already going to be a lengthy install because you got to rip the dash apart to get the radio out. You got to rip, the whole interior out to run your wires and shit. So then, now fast forward to the blue truck. No, Tahoe, he had the sub box and all that in, but he was running stock head units, so that's a little more complicated. I wouldn't know how to explain that. So then the Trailblazer we already did, the silver one. Then the blue truck he had, obviously an aftermarket radio. Because then he put a touchscreen in it, an aftermarket touchscreen. Then he just ran the wires up from his amp that he needed to, and then bam. And then wired the subs into the amp and whatever, and then blah, blah, blah. Like how I explained it with the silver one. Sold the blue truck, when everything was in it because it was all just garbage that was in it. It was just some garbage subs, just some cheap pile of crap, 8-inch subs. Now fast forward to the car that my dad took over, that is driving over the blue truck, because like I said, he sold the blue truck. Well, I found him a decent setup, it was a good startup thing for him. Wasn't trying to have him spend a lot of money. I found a sub box for him. I just wasn't sure on how much it was, because my neighbor down the road from my house, he was having a yard sale, and I seen the subs in box there, because my dad had spent, I think it was the $250 or whatever it was, I forget. I think it was like that $250 mark for amp, box, and sub. And the sub was already wired to the thing on the outside of the outlet thing for the box. And then it was wired from there to the amp. So it was wired to the amp. And then he was wanting something a little more. So then, like I said, my neighbor down the road, cool guy, got to know him, selling some speaker, like stereo stuff. Spools of wire, amps, a sub box, I don't know if, subs in a box, amps, wiring, like I said, just like speaker / like radio stuff. And he paid $20 for everything. Well, $20 for the subs in the box, and he threw the amps and the wiring in just to get rid of it. My dad said, you can sell the wiring and the amps. I got a good amp at home that I can use. He's like, no, you can have it. And he only threw it all in. My dad's like, are you sure? He's like, yeah, I'm sure. Go ahead, take it. Threw it in. So my dad got, I don't know, probably $600-700 worth of shit for $20. So thanks to me, I got my dad a good fucking deal. I mean, yeah, I think he just had the shit priced to sell, but he didn't necessarily have to throw the amps and all the wiring that was there in. My dad just mainly wanted the subs and the sub box. So now he's got a dual sub box in the car with 2 subs. Obviously, they're mismatched. My dad said to him, well, it kind of sucks that they're mismatched. And he was like, well, why? What do you mean? Because my dad knows a lot about stereos. I'll give him that. My dad is a fucking wizard with everything. My dad has said, it's not technically like big deal. It's not a big deal. It's just if you have 2 mismatched subs, it's going to sound way fucking different and it's going to sound weird. Which isn't the end of the world. It's just better to have 2 of the same fucking thing because then it's going to sound better. He's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. You know, if you have 2 different subs, it's going to be different because they're going to have different firing rates and they're going to be different watts, whatever. He's like, okay, makes sense. And so my dad's running that 2 different subs set up in the car. Sold the amps. Sold the original sub and box that was in the car that he originally put in the car. And then, so he technically made that, you know, the money back for the first sub and box that he had, and for that first amp, first sub, and that first box that he had in the car, he made that money back, you know, fucking almost tenfold. So then he also made money back from that sub box